webinar on behalf of our virtual event team. And before I hand over the voice to our panelists today, I would like to give you some practical information regarding participation. For those of you who don't know Zoom, you have a chat window which you can use to comment and say anything you want. Just make sure that when you write your message, and it's directed to everybody, on a blue little squarish element, there is a panelist. There is an everybody information, because if you write only to panelists only, we will be able to see it. So make sure that on this blue element, you are sure that you're writing to everybody, to all attendees. Okay, that's an important information. If you will have any question during the presentation, please use the Q&A session in the Zoom. Both chat and Zoom are at the bottom of your computer available. Yeah, I guess that's that's all important information regarding logistics of today. We're meeting to talk about extremely interesting subject with Skills 4.0. So today our guest is Nina Dziatzko. And I'm so excited because I've already had a sneak peek of her presentation. So I'm really excited, Nina, to hear what you will be saying. So let's start.
Thank you very much, Agnieszka. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar on Skills 4.0, soft but hard to get, the impact of digitalization on training and leadership. As Agnieszka already said, I will later invite you to participate a little bit in my webinar so that it gets a bit interactive, although there are many of you. And, you know, when I planned this webinar, Corona didn't exist yet. So it was in October last year. And yeah, I guess Skills 4.0 and digitalization have been, the attention has been growing. So it gets even more relevant today than it might have been last year. And when I talk about Skills 4.0, I like to ask my audience to think about the situation whether maybe a robot could do this presentation instead of me. So this might be one part of the digital transformation as well. I would like to get to know you a bit better, although I know it's difficult with 60 people. Maybe you can use the chat to write first how you are doing on a scale from 0 to 10. 0 could not be worse. I hope not to encounter any zeros, because if you are really feeling that bad, you might not be joining today. 10 could not be better. And second one, where you are located. So maybe the country or also the city where you are located. So those of you who are already there when the cuckoo clock turned 6 know that I'm living near the Black Forest. So my example was an 8, because I'm a bit nervous. I hope it will get better during the webinar. And second, I'm living in Freiberg am Neckar. It's close to Stuttgart in the southwest of Germany. So please feel free to enter your information as well. Some people from Germany.
I saw earlier Canada, US,
Egypt,
India.
Wow.
Somewhere, I think.
Amazing.
So
very nice. Oh, Black Forest. Hey there. Do you also have a cuckoo clock? Prague.
Oh, somebody is very tired. So let's hope we'll make you relax.
Okay, great. Oh, Finland. Thank you so much. Really, Belarus. Wow. Budapest. It's always interesting to see where the SIETArians are coming from. Okay, let's move on then. You can continue typing if you like. So this is me with a bit more makeup. I did my PhD in cross-cultural communication. I looked at communication strategies of multicultural teams, topic I'm still interested in today. And I also worked as personal and organizational development manager. And I'm speaking to you also from this role. We will see this later on. And I am working as a lecturer in personal development and leadership, and also in intercultural communication. And I am a systemic business coach, something that helps me a lot to cover all my different roles in a very good, and I hope appreciative manner. If later you have questions to me, please feel free to ask questions in the chat, either now or at the end of my presentation, my webinar. So this is the agenda for today. I already told you, you will have to collaborate a bit with me. We will do a poll that Agnieszka has prepared for me. Thank you for that. We will talk about skills 4.0 or future skills. And we will talk about leadership 4.0 or digital leadership. And I would like to share with you some future strategies and give you an outlook with a conclusion. And I'm really looking forward to discussing with you, maybe via chat, but still where you can bring in your questions or also your own experience, your own opinions. I'm really looking forward to this as well. So this is the first poll. Agnieszka will share it with you. I prepared a list of skills, and I would like you to choose the top 3 that you think are the top 3 digitalization skills.
The votes are coming.
Great.
One-third of participants answered. Ready?
It changes a lot, I see. Very interesting.
It's like a little race, yeah.
Yeah.
68%, so the last 30%, please vote. Please choose your options. Okay.
Nearly everyone voted now. So one thing I might add is that, of course, I didn't provide you with any definition of the terms, so maybe you will understand different things. But with the presentation in the backup, I have all the definitions that you can look up later, and I will explain a bit what it's about and also explain why I chose these skills for you today.
80%. I guess when we reach closer to 90, we can stop the polling. Or if anybody won't be participating for another 30 seconds, I guess we can end. 5, 4, 2, 1. Oh, at the very last moment. Okay, yeah, can we?
Yeah.
Stop polling. I guess we have majority of people voted. I want you to see the results.
Oh, it's really very close. So top 1, according to you, is novel and adaptive thinking. And top 2 and 3, with 41% for both, is complex problem solving and teamwork. Okay, I will write this down as we need it for later so that I have it for myself as well. Yeah, thank you very much for participating. Okay. Can I close the window, Agnieszka?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So again, novel and adaptive thinking, complex problem solving, and teamwork. So this is the list of the 10 skills I provided to you. So I already had a kind of selection, a previous selection. I prefer to leave it open, but with this amount of participants, we cannot do this. So I chose these 10 skills from different sources, and we will now go through these together. First is the future of job skills for the 4th Industrial Revolution by the World Economic Forum, also called the Future of Jobs Report. And here you can see a comparison between 2015 and 2020. So complex problem solving is on the first place. You put it on the second, so really very close. Critical thinking is the second, and creativity is the third. You see this blue arrow that I put in because I find it very interesting that in only 5 years, creativity gains such a huge interest, and we will look at this again later closely. So the next set of skills, I chose the top 3 again, is our results of surveys I'm doing regularly with engineers and specialists in the IT sector who are specialized in Industry 4.0 and Internet of Things. Their top 3 were teamwork. So again, one that you also chose in the top 3. The second, digital business development. I mean, this is what the digital transformation is all about. So more a strategic skill, we can say. And the third one, empathy. So I was really astonished about these results from this target group. And I also put for you as an information the other points that were mentioned: collaboration. So not only in the team, but more over with different departments, for example. Then open mind to new technologies, or in general, open-mindedness. So good news for us interculturalists. Readiness to change, also I think a key element. And communication, especially with the customer. So on the one hand, I thought these skills were already there, but if you look in many organizations, these are really the elements that organizations have to work on to be able to go the way through the digital transformation. So we are not yet talking about artificial intelligence or blockchain, etc. So really basic skills. Then we have the Future Work Skills 2020, where I chose the first 4 in this case, sense making. I didn't explain this one, might be a bit tricky. It's about giving a sense to your work, to your life, social intelligence, and novel and adaptive thinking, the one you chose for the first place, and cross-cultural competency, again, good news for us, and computational thinking, new media literacy, so to being able to use new media and to properly use it in any context, transdisciplinarity, design mindset. This also goes more in the direction of customer orientation, so to be able to imagine an outcome, and cognitive load management, so to be able to assess all the information we are getting from the different sources and to be able to assess what's relevant and what's not. And I guess this one might get more and more important as well, virtual collaboration. And there has been a survey conducted by the Technical University of Munich. It was already in 2017, and they found out that 64% of organizations consider not having the skills they actually need for the digital transformation, and 16% of them said that they had already established a training program to close this digital skills gap. Last one, I did not include these skills in the survey, but still it's interesting because it's considering the year 2030 already. Agnieszka, are there some?
I just wanted to ask, there is a question about source of a list of future work skills.
Yeah, it's all in the, I put my sources in the end, in the backup, and there is also a link to the PDF.
Okay.
Okay, so OECD, Future of Education and Skills 2030. So this is not, these are not the top 3, but it's more the key findings of this report is again the importance of creativity, then the importance of lifelong learning and curiosity. And they also say social and emotional skills get more important than cognitive skills in the long run. And when we ask ourselves why it's the case, again, we can think about automatization and robots. These are typically things that robots cannot or not yet do as good as human beings. So what was striking was that in all these reports, the soft skills have a huge amount. So in every In every report I looked at, either there were only soft skills or at least 2/3 of soft skills. And one reason might be that these are the skills that are hardest to understand and also systemize when we think again about automatization, and that give an edge over robots, in fact. And a Harvard professor for education and economics also said that the soft skills of sharing and negotiating will be crucial in future. So these are apparently also skills that robots cannot do as well as human beings. Or I like to say not yet, because I don't know how it will evolve in time. And if we look at the definition of soft skills I took out of the Oxford English Dictionary, it's about personal attributes that enable someone to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. Maybe at a later stage, not only with other people, but with other machines. Could be an addition in the future. And if we look at this definition, what is really interesting, I find that it could also define intercultural competence, because it enables us to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people from other cultures. And maybe intercultural competence is something where you also have the self-reflection part as well, when an interaction is not working out as you have planned it. But still, I think that the definition of soft skills goes very well along with the one of intercultural competence. So what do we need in order to develop these skills? In the title, I mentioned that we will talk about leadership and about training. So when you think, if we take the example of creativity, which was mentioned several times, what do you need in order to be creative? So one thing would be trust. So an environment where you can trust the other ones, where you can, trust. And you can also not be creative if you feel stressed, or if you have, let's say a fear of something. So this is why you will need a leadership culture which supports trust and avoids fear. And for those of you who assisted in June, Lise Wouters had a presentation on having fun in online meetings. And she talked about the concept of psychological safety. So this also suits very well with the development of these skills, because if you develop humor, if you are laughing, you do not feel threatened. And if you look, for example, on how children learn, and normally they learn through playing, and they often play, or they prefer playing with other children they like, and maybe also they trust. So I put Leadership 4.0 and digital leadership as being synonymous. Of course, this can be discussed. And through my research, I also was astonished that digital leadership is often cited in the same context as transformational leadership, as servant leadership, leadership focused on values and employee-centered. I simply found this very, very astonishing. And at the same time, it's not so astonishing, because if we think about the topic of trust, for example, servant leadership or leadership focused on values is the key. So if in your organization you do not have a culture of trust, you might need a new leadership culture. Of course, you need a focus on innovation. We saw that the skills 4.0 are more or less soft skills, but still you need the technical part somehow. So you need to focus on innovation, to be open-minded for new technologies. You also need a focus on organizational management. With that, I mean that it's good to have leaders who are trusting their employees, but it's important to have them throughout the whole organization. So you have to develop a new leadership culture, a new leadership approach, and this will affect the whole organization. And you need an agile approach to collaboration, because then you are able to react quickly to new changes, to uncertainty. And this is also something, the quick and flexible reaction to uncertainty, what apparently differentiates human beings from robots, who are until now able to take over standardized tasks, routine tasks, and who are only developing towards doing more complex and complicated tasks as well. I mentioned trust and empathy. So it was also one thing that was cited previously. So to be able to put yourself in the other's shoes in order to develop your leadership style and also your self-leadership in a way. Yeah?
Question, yes. What is meant in the context by organizational management?
Yeah. So this is, I will go back, wait. Organizational management or organizational development is, or let's say it another way. If you change your leadership culture, or if you develop your leadership culture, this affects the whole organization. So you can say that changes in leadership culture is a kind of organizational development. And to focus on organizational management is to simply oversee the organization as a whole, and to develop the organization as a whole, and not only small teams or only the leaders that like to lead in a trustful way, for example. So this is more a holistic approach, I would say. Okay. If it did not get clear, maybe we can talk about it at the end of the webinar as well. But in general, thank you for your questions and your participation. Now we will turn to the next poll. I would like to ask you again about the digitalization skills, but now focused on leadership. Maybe you think that the same skills are relevant, but maybe you think that others are more relevant. So thank you again for joining the second poll.
I must just say, while people are voting, there is extremely interesting discussion going in the chat
Okay.
concerning leadership and its future. So I guess, Nina, you have to read it afterwards and make another webinar dedicated only to what is the future of leadership and in the digital era. Because I'm not able to read all the comments, but thank you guys, because it's really, really interesting what's going on in the chat.
Yeah, I really regret that I cannot look at the chat while I'm talking, obviously, but maybe at the end of the webinar I can have a look and then we can discuss it.
Let me just remind you, when you have a questions, put it in the Q&A. There is one question already. The skills are very similar to global leadership. Are there any differences between digital leadership and global leadership? I guess you will be able to answer it also after the poll. Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, if you have any additional questions, just put them in. 66% voted. So let us wait a moment longer. 75. So let's get additional 30 seconds for voting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to select the 3 and it takes some time, so it's fine. And I guess we have 10 minutes left. We're good in time, I guess.
Yes, Mafalda, the poll is still open. If you do not see it, maybe change the way that the view in the top right corner. Maybe that's the problem. Or maybe you've brought it to the bar at the bottom. Maybe that's the case, because the poll is open and you should be able. Yes, do you have it? Yes, I see. Got it. Thanks. Great.
It's really different this time, huh?
Yes. So, okay. 77 plus.
Before we had 83%, maybe still some people typing.
And the leaders' discussion is really going on still. So.
Oh, that's great. Looking forward to reading it.
4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So we're closing it. 80%. Great.
Okay, very interesting now. So we have on the first place this time social intelligence with 59%. And after that we have cross-cultural competence with 41%. And then we have empathy with 33%.
Complex problem solving with 39.
Where is it? I don't see. Oh, okay. Thank you, Agnieszka. Yeah. Okay, then this is the third one then. So complex.
Yeah, we don't need empathy. Well,
yeah.
Joke, everybody. I'm sorry.
So thank you very much. Of course, it would be very interesting for me to ask you why you chose these and why you chose different for the leaders. Unfortunately, will be difficult to discuss this, but maybe we get in touch later on as well. So again, the result was social intelligence, cross-cultural competence, and complex problem solving. the interesting thing for me is that I already talked about employee-centered leadership. In the future, we will be able, still someone who wrote it? No, I will close it now. So if the leader has certain skills and maybe there are other skills he does not have, in our approach towards leadership nowadays, it's perfectly fine if he finds a team with the skills the leader does not have. I mean, before, when it was more hierarchical, the leader had to be, to have a lot of power, and now it's really okay to choose great team members who can complete or who can close the gaps, let's say. So some future strategies that could help in order to avoid that the king will have a burnout is, as I mentioned, to delegate some authority. I mentioned again the new leadership culture we talked about previously. And also, if we think back at the result of the OECD report about learning organization and knowledge management, I don't know if you have heard about the concept of working out loud, but this is typical, a very good knowledge management tool where every employee is enabled to participate, to develop himself, to build up a good network. And I think these things are crucial for the future. What can also help is to have a different approach to trainings. Maybe you already have it. Reskilling could be one thing. Job rotation. I know that this is a common personal development tool, but first it is done very rarely, at least from what I experienced. And the second is, and this goes along with cooperation, in future it might be possible to do a job rotation in different companies. So if we think this cooperation a bit further, you can leave your own organization, your own company, and maybe exchange with others. I know that in Germany, we have companies who share their Auszubildende. So in Germany, we have this concept of having a 3-year, let's say you learn practical things. It's not studies, it's more to really learn on the job. You have some days at schools and some days on the job. And I know, for example, that during the Corona crisis, companies exchanged their pupils because some could not pay them anymore because they obviously were hit very severely by the crisis. And so others took them over for the time to come and to make them able to continue their learning. Yes, Agnieszka?
We have a question about what did you mean by reskilling?
Yeah. Reskilling means that you really, I will talk about this in the outlook again, that you look at the skills that you already have in your team, in your teams, in your departments, and that you encourage the employees to develop their skills. So to maybe change jobs if they need to, because it is a fact that some jobs will not exist in several years because they will be done by robots in future. And instead of saying to them, okay, you lose your job, try now already to give them a perspective, or the employees can also try to get their own perspective by developing. If we look at production, for example, production will be automated a lot, but if you are interested in technical things and in managing artificial intelligence or using digitalization tools, then you might be able to keep your job. I know this is not possible for everyone, but this is meant by reskilling. So to use the job you have and either to switch to a completely different job or to concentrate on digitalization skills to be able to keep your job. Was that clear? I hope so. If not, as I said, we can...
for the answer. If there is another question, it will pop up.
Okay, great. And another thing that that I must say is my own opinion. I don't know if you share it, but I'm working with intercultural trainings for agile teams. So I'm not concentrating intercultural approaches only on cultures, on the collaboration between different countries, but really if you have an agile team with a, let's say, a Scrum Master and different roles coming from different departments, which might come with a different mindset, then intercultural training or intercultural training elements can help them to put themselves in the other's shoes, to develop empathy, and really to open their mind to the others. And as a first conclusion, we could say that the role of mediator is key in this case. So that leaders no longer are simply leaders, but more mediators between teams, between team members, and maybe also in future between robots and human beings. Why not? So a very humble approach to leadership, and still a very important and crucial one, as I would say. So my conclusion for this topic is skills 4.0, soft but hard to get. Stop fighting the war for talents and begin to cut diamonds. What do I mean with this? So, of course, if we want to close the skill gap, we might need some experts in, let's say, artificial intelligence, big data, whatever. But what organizations should, and this is also what I mean by reskilling, should focus on is really to see what employees do I have, how are they motivated to learn new things, and how can I include them on the way to the digital transformation. Thank you very much for your attention. And I'm looking forward to the next 15 minutes with you.
Maybe I will come back to the question we've heard before.
Yeah.
So the comparison between digital leadership and global leadership, could you comment on that?
Yeah. So normally I would give the question back and ask, what do you think about it? In this case, it's a bit more difficult. In fact, I think that it can be used as synonymously, so as being more or less the same. However, it can be questioned if global leadership really exists. So I'm really very interested in the concept of global leadership, and I'm sometimes really asking myself, do global leadership or do global leaders exist or not? I know Mark Mendenhall might have an opinion on that because for me, he's the expert in global leadership. So I would answer yes and no. Yes, in the sense of if you are a global leader, meaning you are leading a multicultural team, for example, in different time zones, in different countries, maybe not even seeing each other, only in the virtual world, then of course it's the same. And at the same time, it can be discussed whether global leadership as such really exists, because you always have the problem that you have the global standards and the local interests. So this is simply a question I like to work on, and it's a concept I like to question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope this was a good answer. As I said, feel free to get in touch with me later on to continue the discussion on this.
Do we have any other questions? You can post it in the Q&A or in the chat if you wish. So far, we have a lot of thank you very much. It was very interesting comments. So thank you for those.
Thank you for participating, and thank you, especially for participating in the poll.
So we have a lot of comments like this.
I will look at the chat as well.
Yeah, you may continue reading.
Okay.
I'll try to download the chat for you. Oh, it seems we have a question. What are the first few practical steps for improving the digitalization skills for self-employing intercultural trainers?
Okay. We have seen that skills 4.0 are more or less focused on soft skills. So this is also the reason why I put a question mark in the end, because developing social skills is a lifelong journey, you can say. So for the 3 next steps, the first step for me would always be motivation. So to really have participants who like to change, who are interested to develop these skills. Then awareness, to be aware that it's on the one hand a lifelong journey, but on the other hand, if they take a first step, it's already in the right direction. And the third, I put a lot of emphasis on trust. So to create a culture of trust, so that the employees trust in themselves, that they're capable of developing, and also to develop a culture of trust within an organization.
Okay, we have some more questions. The first one would be, would you consider digitalization to assist in the disappearance of leadership?
Not necessarily. I mean, you can use digital tools to be a very a leader who controls a lot. And I mean, you can, I'm not familiar with these kind of practices, but you can control your employees, you can control when they log in and log off, whatever. I would say it helps, because the people I worked with during this year, many of them said, yeah, now that everyone is working at home, I have to trust them, or I have to let them do, and I have to, to let loose, let's say. So on the one hand, yes, because people get more more independent, and on the other hand, it's really a mindset. If you are not ready to develop and to trust, you can also control with virtual tools.
And we have the last one. In your opinion, how important is empathy in this topic?
I think empathy is crucial. And for me, empathy begins really with, again, with small steps, to simply be aware that, you know, we talked about communication and communication with the customer. So to be aware that the other one might think things differently or see things differently. So this is the first step, to really, again, have a kind of awareness that you let the other's opinion like they are, that you respect them, that you integrate them. So I think empathy is really crucial, and is really difficult to implement if we think, for example, about empathy or active listening. This is for me a typical empathy tool, to really listen and not thinking about what you will answer, not thinking about what you will have for breakfast or whatever else. This for me is one key tool for empathy.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we have time for one last question. In education, digitalization was already started and Corona gave it a big boost. Do you see other trends in other areas?
What do you mean by other trends in other areas? So
it was a question from Vincent.
Yeah.
So please, Vincent, if you're able to kind of narrow the scope of the question or give us some hints of the areas you were looking for. I'm assuming areas other than education. So like business, that would be my guess, but like in industry. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, in industry.
Thank you.
Again, if you're ready to develop, yes. If you are not, maybe not. So the people I'm working with have used the digitalization, or the, let's say, the Corona crisis, to really train their sales manager to be able to sell virtually. So to really develop this as a capacity. You know, they have before they used more the telephone to sell things, or the personal contact, and now they're really focusing on web conferences and on other tools that might be helpful for the customer. And I guess without Corona, they would never have taken this step towards virtual sales as a really new discipline.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have officially like less than 2 minutes left. So if there is any short question, we can still have space for one.
Short question might have long answers, you know, Agnieszka.
That was a kind of short question in terms of yes or no. Do you have have any yes or no question for Nina, that will be, we have just enough time to do it. I'm looking, but it seems we've covered the areas of curiosity just fine. So thank you everybody for participating. There is a polling of evaluation available, so if you can please attend. And well, we invite you to participate in the next webinar. Of course, this one will be available on our YouTube site. So if you want to see it one more time or recommend it, please do. Thank you, Nina, so much. It was very interesting.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Agnieszka, for your support. It was really
There is a question, how to contact you. You, for example, in the chat, leave your email address.
Yeah, I can. Can I share my presentation? Because there I can put my my contact data.
Do you have in your presentation your email at the end? No, right now.
No, no. But I can put it in. That's what I meant, because I have, the further readings and the sources might be interesting.